Hello guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Unique Items. I think we finally finished all the axes and maces and hammers and all that stuff, and we are now moving on to the Scepters, so that should be interesting. We're going to start out with the Fetid Sprinkler, Holy Water Sprinkler. This is a unique exceptional level item. It is one-handed damage of 55 to 129, which is pretty good for level 38, and it has a very low strength requirement of only 76, so most characters will be able to utilize this with ease. We also have a fast attack speed on this, but no increased attack speed, which is rather sad for a weapon that would probably be used by a melee character. We have 5% chance to cast level 1 Decrepify on striking. Now, that's kind of interesting because it will help your physical damage a lot because Decrepify does offer a 50% reduction in the monster's physical resistance. It also makes the monster 50% slower, 50% weaker, which means they hit you for less damage. And unfortunately, though, level 1 Decrepify doesn't really last for a very long time. Level 1 Decrepify is only 4 seconds, and you're not going to really see like a super huge amount of like amazing use out of the Decrepify on this. It will be useful, don't get me wrong, but it will be sporadic at 5% chance to cast, and with only a 4-second duration, it won't be extremely, helpful for a long period of time. On top of that, it doesn't have a very large radius either. So Decrepify's radius actually doesn't go up by level, and it stays the same. It's a 4-yard radius. It's very small. So it will most likely only hit the monster that you have been attacking, and maybe, if you're lucky, like 1 or 2 other monsters nearby that happen to be within range. But for the most part, it's only going to hit the monster that you're attacking, which doesn't really make it a bad thing. I mean, it's nice to have on a weapon. I just want to give you a realistic idea of the usefulness of the level 1 Decrepify. Yes, it will be useful, but not as useful as you think because it's not going to last very long and it's not going to hit as many targets as you might hope for. But then we also have a Confuse on striking of 10%. So not only is it going to be spamming Decrepify, it's also going to be spamming Confuse, also at level 1. And level 1 Confuse is an AI spell, and so AI spells are actually affected by difficulty. So we are looking at a radius of 4 yards, same as Decrepify, with a duration of 10 seconds. So in normal difficulty, if you're utilizing this, they will be confused for 10 seconds. In Nightmare difficulty, it will be 5 seconds, and in Hell difficulty, I'm pretty sure it's like 2.5 seconds. So the Confuse isn't going to last very long either, but it will be enough to interrupt them and to kind of keep them from hitting you for a very brief period of time. So it's going to act as a kind of a protection for you. The downside, of course, though, of having Confuse with Decrepify is that the Confuse is going to overwrite the Decrepify, and the Decrepify is going to overwrite the Confuse, and it's going to go back and forth like this. And because Confuse is the higher percent chance, you're probably going to see Confuse more often than you're going to see Decrepify. But seeing as they both last only like 2 to 4 seconds, are they really going to be overwriting each other, or are they just going to be constantly switching and swapping back and forth? Because by the time Decrepify runs out after 4 seconds, you'll probably proc Confuse and so forth and so on, and it'll just be this back and forth little battle between the curses. I mean, it's not exactly a bad thing because both of those curses are actually pretty nice, and both of them are very defensive curses. So despite the fact that Decrepify will give you a small boost in damage, the real main benefit of Decrepify, honestly, is that it gives you that 50% physical damage reduction on the monster. Whereas Confuse's main benefit is just simply that, well, the monsters aren't going to be attacking you. They're going to be attacking whatever else is nearby. Now, do keep in mind, though, that if you only have one monster, you can't really confuse them. They're just going to keep attacking you anyway. The other thing here is that Confuse does not work on elites, champions, or bosses, as well as super uniques. So whenever you are fighting a boss, a champion, or a super unique, the Confuse will not proc. So the Decrepify is the only thing that's going to work on those particular bosses, which means that in the most extreme cases, when you're fighting monsters that you would really like to have Decrepify for, Confuse isn't going to override it. So it's actually kind of nice. We also have +2 paladin skill levels on this, and that is static, so it does not change. And +2 paladin skills is good for just about any character, even if you're not specifically a melee character. If you happen to find this while you're leveling up on like a solo self-found or something, you can throw it on for a little while until you find yourself something better, or make yourself something better. We also have 190% enhanced damage on this, which does vary from 160 to 190%. And because we have the Decrepify enhancing our physical damage, that variance is actually amplified because the Decrepify is, of course, amplifying our damage. So it would be kind of nice if you had find one that's a little bit higher on the ED. We also have a flat damage added to the min and the max of 15 to 25. Now, unfortunately, this usually means that the weapon won't upgrade very well because the flat damage does not scale. And the flat damage is really balanced around the exceptional version of the item. So when we upgrade it to the elite version, it won't really have the same kind of oomph that the exceptional version has because of that. We also have a pretty massive 200 attack rating bonus on this, which does vary from 150 to 200. And that massive 200 actually will get multiplied really nicely by your skills. So if you're utilizing things like Zeal, if you're utilizing, let's say, Fanaticism, which also gives a nice little attack rating bonus, or if you're utilizing the passive bonus on Blessed Aim, whatever it is that you happen to be using to beef up your attack rating a little bit, that 200 is going to get multiplied very nicely. Before you know it, that 200 is going to be like 400, 600, maybe even 800 or 1,000, depending on how much bonus to attack rating you have on your character. So a very, very nice amount of attack rating that can actually come in really handy for a level 38 character and onward. We also have 160 poison damage over 4 seconds, which can be useful to help prevent regeneration. But as we found out recently, the more you attack, the more you negate that poison damage. So especially if you were on a Zeal Paladin who was attacking as quickly as possible, you would negate a lot of that poison damage off the target. But the 160 poison damage over 4 seconds will kind of help prevent some regeneration while it's active. But the thing is that poison damage doesn't stay active very long, and so the monster is going to regenerate a lot anyway. It's kind of like a weird thing. Poison damage needs to be revamped, and especially the poison damage on weapons needs to be beefed up a little bit because it's usually pretty low. In fact, this weapon probably has one of the highest poison damage I've seen so far on a level 38 weapon, which is kind of saying a lot. We also have the static 50% enhanced undead damage bonus on this because it is, of course, a mace class weapon. But do keep in mind that this is a scepter, not a mace. That is something that a lot of people have made a mistake with. They actually separated out the 3 mace classes into 3 sub-mace classes. So all of them are under the mace class, but the scepters are in the scepter class, the maces are in the mace class, and the hammers are in their own class. Go figure. When that means that like rune words that say maces doesn't necessarily mean hammers and doesn't necessarily mean scepters, or a rune word that says scepters doesn't mean hammers or maces, and so forth and so on. So it has to actually say the subclass. We also have the ethereal version of this, which is 75 to 181 damage, and it has slightly lower requirements at 66 strength. Unfortunately, you can't really utilize this one except for maybe just to use it for the +2 to skills because, well, you can't really burn the durability. At 60 durability may be a decent amount, but you'll burn it really quickly, and before you know it, it'll be broken. Now, we can upgrade this to the elite version, and I would like to see how this item upgrades. So let's take a look and see what happens when we upgrade this to the... I'm trying to remember what the name of it is. Is that the... It's not the Rune Scepter. Well, I guess we'll find out. So this is going to go from the Fetid Sprinkler Holy Water Sprinkler, 55 to 129, 76 strength, level 38, to the Fetid Sprinkler Seraph Rod, 145 to 181, 69 dex, 108 strength requirement, level 64. Now that upgrade was actually kind of nice. The max damage didn't go up too much from 129 to 181, but the min damage went up amazingly from 55 to 145, and it crushed together the min and the backs very nicely. So this weapon is going to hit with a very reliable spectrum of damage, and at level 64 with relatively low requirements, you could probably utilize this on just about any paladin. Is it going to be an endgame item that you're going to utilize above all others? Probably not. But you know what you could use this for? You could have it in your offhand. You could utilize it for killing physical immunes, because the Decrepify will allow you to burn through the physical damage of the physical immunity of a monster, which, you know, could come in handy. Let's take a look at the Elite version, and let's see how the Elite version upgrades. So we're going to go from 75 to 181 damage, 66 strength requirement, level 38, to 209 to 259, 59 dex, 98 strength, level 64. So again, a very interesting weapon. You know what I'm thinking on the top of my head, which would be a very interesting use for this, and it's not even on a paladin, is a Blade Fury Assassin could utilize the Ethereal version of this, upgraded. 209 to 259 is really nice damage. Could be a very interesting choice, especially since it has the Decrepify proc and the Confuse proc. Basically used on a range character, you would be spamming Decrepifies and Confuses all over the place. And, you know, it could be useful to burn through the physical immunity of some monsters. Maybe it wouldn't be your, like, you know, end game, like, GG weapon, but it could definitely be a weapon that you would utilize to burn through immunities. You could even tack on a 40% Ruby Jewel to beef it up a little bit further from 190% to, 230% ED, which would be interesting. And, I don't know. It's just, it's a very interesting weapon all around. Very cool weapon. It's just, I'm not really sure that I've ever found this on level to actually utilize it on a paladin. I can't think of a single time I've actually found this, like, on a paladin and actually used it, because it seems, I think it's a little rare. Speaking of which, let's go over to Silo's Pen and let's see where potentially this item could fall if we wanted to get our hands on it, right? So let's see here. Bink. So is it the? It's a the, which means it's lumped in with all the other these. The these of the town. We are the these. We are the these. Look at all the these nuts. No, I'm just kidding. So it's a level 38 item. So let's do about 150% magic find. I feel like that's fair. Let's go to all and then bosses. Actually, no, real quick, let's do normal. Does it drop in normal? It does drop from Baezil, but a really crappy chance. Okay, so let's ignore that. Let's do nightmare difficulty. And we're looking at Diablo in nightmare. That's way too high level. You'd be past it by the time you got to it. Baezil also, you'd be past it. Nightmare in Ethereal, 1 in 3,680. That's a pretty good option. You could reliably farm her relatively early on in your nightmare, you know, career, so to speak, and you could try and get your hands on it. Well, that's a pretty good drop rate too. And as far as super uniques go, we've got the Cow King at 1 in 11,000. That's some pretty crappy odds here on these drops. And a lot of these guys are like in Act 3, Act 2. I mean, like Dark Elder, 1 in 31,000. That's awful. Beetle Burst, 1 in 32,000. It's no wonder I've never found this item like on level when I actually needed it. It doesn't seem like it has a lot of good places to drop from. It really honestly seems like your best bet is Nightmare and Ethereal. Let's do a quick check though, like in the all. Hell Cow King has a better chance to drop it of 1 in 8,226. So if you wanted to find it and twink it to somebody, I mean, that's a little bit different. But you wouldn't be able to find that, like, on level or anything. Yeah, I mean, Nightmare Andy really seems like the best bet at 1 in 3,680, and there's really not a lot of other good choices. I mean, Nightmare Andy does have the benefit of dropping some of the best items in the game, like the Soge. She can drop a Soge. And there's a couple other really good items that she can drop. So, I mean, she's not exactly a poor choice to farm. especially if you are a starter Nightmare character and you don't really have a lot of really good equipment to burn your way through Nightmare and into Hell difficulty. So it's not a bad choice, and it really seems like the only choice. All in all, the Fetid Sprinkler Holy Water Sprinkler is definitely a very sexy little Paladin Scepter. I mean, with Decrepify, Confuse, +2 Paladin skills, decent damage, and a rather nice amount of attack rating, I would use this on my Zeal Paladin. The only real unredeeming factor of this is its slow speed. It's only a fast attack speed weapon. And I think if you were going to utilize this on a Paladin, you probably would want to put a Shale Rune in it. You know I say that all the time. If you like it, then you better put a Shale in it. If you like it, then you better put a Shale in it. But I mean, it's true. Shale Runes are the easiest way to speed up a weapon. They're the easiest way to make the weapon a little bit more useful for your character. And something like this, which is a little bit on the slow side, could definitely utilize a Shale Rune to make it much faster, much more effective. Especially since you're relying on those proccing effects, which you are going to need to attack quickly to get the best benefit from. In fact, let's go really quickly and just bonk a couple monsters real fast and have a little bit of fun with it. Let me throw up Salvation just so I don't die. And let's go to River Flame. We'll do the bonkening. The bonkening! Oh god. They are doing the bonkening. Ow, it hurts. The bonkening. Don't bonken me. Why do you bonken me, sir? And there's our Confuse. And there's our Decrepify. That's my God Zealer at work. The Holy Bolts that come out are very effective to kill undead and demons, and he's properly geared for the God Zealer build. So he's got those nice, sexy, high damage Holy Bolts coming out with every single Zeal. Very effective weapon. I'm actually quite impressed with this weapon, and if I did find one, I probably would hang on to it. As always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watch my videos, even when I am sprinkling the garden with some holy water. And as always, keep watching.